The march actually started in 1968. There were a handful of us. I was only 9 years old at the time.
Arlington Callis's father is credited with starting the march. 2 days after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King in April of 1968, Reverend Raymond A. Callis marched in San Antonio.
Why was he moved to march?
He was moved to march, Myra, because of a lot of the deficiencies that we didn't have on the east side. I mean, things that a lot of people will probably think, oh, that's nothing, but it was a lot back then, such as poor drainage, no sidewalks, no city parks for our youth.
Basic things.
Yes, yes.
That the east side did not have.
That we did not have.
Reverend Callis worked at Martin Luther King Middle School for more than 30 years as a woodshop teacher. He was an East Side activist and a pastor of 2 churches he built himself.
And it's something he loved to do.
Arlington Callis estimates there were 9 people walking in that first march back in '68. By the mid-'70s, it had grown to a few dozen.
We had the police officer on a motorcycle in the front and a police officer on a motorcycle in the back. They gave us just the right lane only, okay, and cars continued to pass in opposite direction. And we marched on Martin Luther King Drive, but it wasn't Martin Luther King at the time.
A street name that Reverend Callis pushed the city to change, and they did. It was 1986 when the city did something else that would change the San Antonio MLK March forever under then-Mayor Henry Cisneros.
He had been to Atlanta for the very first official Martin Luther King celebration. He said he sat there and he thought, I want this for my city.
Mayor Cisneros tapped Aranetta Pierce to chair the city's first ever MLK Commission.
He really understood that I would give it the work. I would do the work. And it was a lot of work. That's me at the march. And also, it was a time when people were looking, I think, for more African Americans to be involved. And that was me.
Pierce and Reverend Callis once taught at the same school.
I call him probably the greatest cheerleader that Martin Luther King has ever had in San Antonio.
In 1987, the first MLK March backed by the city took place.
What do you think that did for this march?
I think that what the commission did, we gave it structure, we gave it visibility.
So much so that civil rights icon Rosa Parks attended that march in '87.
Here's Rosa Parks, and the Black Policemen's Union volunteered to escort and be protectors of Rosa Parks.
An estimated 30,000 people were there for the march, which happened 5 years before Texas recognized Martin Luther King Day as a state holiday. Pushing lawmakers to act.
I didn't do it by myself.
Was Mario Salas, a longtime San Antonio civil rights leader and East Side native. A fellow activist Salas knew came up with an idea.
And his simple answer was, well, we're going to take away their football.
In 1990, the NFL moved the Super Bowl out of Tempe, Arizona, where it was scheduled to be played in '93. That's because Arizona state lawmakers in '90 voted against making Martin Luther King Day a state holiday.
So we decided to call the NFL commissioner, got him on the phone. We also called the Players Association. So he just flat out told us, well, we won't play in Texas either. I guarantee you we won't. I said, oh, now it's time to go to the state in Austin.
Salas and fellow activists met with the Speaker of the Texas House.
And he just said, well, what do y'all want? I said, well, it's what you want, Mr. Speaker. You want a Super Bowl in Texas. Well, there won't be one here unless we get a Martin Luther King state holiday. It's that simple.
The next morning, Salas said that legislation was on the congressional calendar. Martin Luther King Day became a Texas state holiday in 1991. Today, there is no official record keeping on which march is the nation's largest. But somewhere along the way, San Antonio took that title.
It's amazing how San Antonio was just known for it. We had a March Marshal one year clearly said that we had over 300,000 marchers.
I think a lot of people would think, well, why isn't it in Alabama, Mississippi, a place that was sort of at the heart of so much of the fight for civil rights? How did it end up in San Antonio?
Well, I think it speaks about the city and its uniqueness, its diversity of cultures, and we all have a tendency to get along. I mean, it's not a perfect city. No place is perfect. I get that. But San Antonio has created an environment, if I may, where people feel welcome here.
You would think that out of 300,000 people, 200,000 of them are African Americans, and that's just not the case. The diversity is something that you can only be here to experience.
The San Antonio Police Department gives the MLK Commission a crowd size estimate every year. No matter what's changed in size or planning over the years, organizers never wanted this to be a parade.
So we always like to respectfully draw a distinction between us and Atlanta, the man's hometown. Atlanta has a parade and we have a march.
Well, Martin Luther King didn't parade. He was a marcher. And he once said, there's nothing stronger than the sound of marching feet of a people determined to change things.
We march for a cause. My reason would be to not forget where we came from, not forget whose shoulders we stand upon, not to get complacent.
What does Martin Luther King Day mean to you?
It means that a man lived who believed that we could all live together in harmony. And that's worth celebrating.